In 1776, seeking independence from the British Crown did not come easily nor immediately for the colonists living in America. Even in the months before American independence was declared, a large part of the population remained loyal to England. Britain's excessive taxes, strict regulations, and increased presence of soldiers, however, began to weaken the colonists' loyalty. In this lesson, we are going to learn about America's road to independence. We will see the influence of writers such as Thomas Paine and John Locke, and how their ideas inspired the Declaration of Independence. In 1776, Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense, which was a pamphlet that advocated for American independence from Great Britain. Paine argued that government should come from popular consent and promoted the idea of an America where citizens were in control. Common Sense called for an end to British rule and promoted the idea of an American republic where free citizens, not a monarch, made the decisions for the nation. While most colonists considered these ideas to be radical, Common Sense became a very popular document with more than 150,000 copies circulating in the colonies. Many colonists found inspiration in Paine's writing and supported the idea of breaking from tradition and seeking independence. Not long after the publication of Common Sense, the Second Continental Congress, which consisted of delegates from the 13 colonies, received word that back in Great Britain, a law had been passed called the Prohibitory Act. This act was passed by the British Parliament in reaction to colonial resistance. Not only did it close all colonial ports, but it went even further and established that resistance to the crown was treason. Great Britain declared that trade and commerce would be prohibited to colonists. To make matters worse, foreign mercenaries were also being hired by the British to crush colonial resistance. It became very clear to the colonists that any peaceful resolution with Great Britain would not be possible. In defiance, the Continental Congress opened all American ports for international trade in April of 1776. By that time, the stakes were too high, and most colonists were already committed to winning their independence from Great Britain. Richard Henry Lee, a delegate from Virginia, introduced a resolution to the Continental Congress in June 1776.
That these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, for forming foreign alliances and preparing a plan of confederation.
This resolution announced America's independence from Great Britain, but Congress knew that this was not enough. There would need to be a more formal document declaring their intentions. About this time, 5 men were given a momentous task: Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Robert Livingston, and Roger Sherman were appointed to a committee by the Continental Congress to prepare a formal Declaration of Independence. Jefferson was selected to write the first draft. He included many ideas in the Declaration of Independence, building justification for the American Revolution. Jefferson's writing was inspired from discussions held during the Continental Congress and from proclamations of independence made in the past by other colonial governments. After a couple of weeks of intense writing and revising of their manuscript, they shared their work with the Continental Congress on June 28, 1776. There are 3 parts to the Declaration of Independence. The beginning contains the preamble, where Jefferson identified the natural rights of man. For this, he borrowed directly from the English Enlightenment thinker and philosopher John Locke and his paper, The Second Treatise of Government, written in 1690. Jefferson's preamble starts off with,
"We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness."
This came directly from Locke's second treatise. when he called for the right to life, liberty, and property. The second part of the Declaration of Independence was influenced by Thomas Paine's common sense. Here, Jefferson makes a direct attack against King George III of England, listing violations he made against the rights of American colonists, including taxation without consent, authorizing a standing army during times of peace, and the obstruction of trade with foreign countries. In the third part of the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson describes the failed attempts made by colonists to petition the king to address their grievances, as well as their futile appeals made to Parliament. Finally, the last and most significant portion of the document was used to declare American colonial independence from Great Britain's rule.
These united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved.
Rebelling colonists defied the Crown with this declaration, risking penalty of treason to create a new and independent nation. On July 4, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was adopted by the Second Continental Congress, becoming a powerful document of great influence and inspiration to the rest of the world. As this lesson comes to a close, let's review what we've learned about America's road to independence. We explored how Thomas Paine's ideas in his work, Common Sense, influenced colonists as they sought independence from Great Britain. We also examined how Thomas Jefferson drew inspiration from Thomas Paine and John Locke as he drafted the Declaration of Independence. It was the works of these great writers that helped the American colonists pave the way to their independence.